Explain!
After grinding for 15 hours to get Tester and Yazama in Discord and feeling terminally unemployed, I have finally gotten access to the game. Then I quickly realized that it only has 3 hours of content. I mean, the game has a lot of potential for dungeon and combat mechanics, but it really struggles with 3 main issues. 1. The game has very little enemy and boss variety. 2. The game encounters can be easily trivialized by cheesing the enemies or carrying a large amount of healing items. And 3. The game around level 7 becomes way too easy. When it's your first time progressing, it's really fun to see what type of bosses, enemies, and events there are. But there are only 4 bosses, and since you fight a boss every floor, you fight all of them in your first hour of playing. The problem only gets worse when you realize that all of the enemies are humanoid, which means that you fight all of them in the same way. They are also all extremely easy to fight and do like 0 damage. The only time these enemies are a threat is when you fight a lot of them at the same time, which shouldn't really happen to you if you know what you're doing. Fighting the same NPCs over and over again gets really mind-numbing the more you play, which isn't something you'd like to see out of a roguelite, which you're supposed to spend a lot of hours on. Not only does the game get more mind-numbing as you play, the game also gets really easy. Maybe just the inner Deepoken demon in me, but I have no issue fighting these bosses after playing for like 3 hours. Even if I do struggle against these bosses, I could just pull out one of my 50 apples and go to full. There is no risk in this game if you know what you're doing. The only time you should be dying to a boss is when you just started a build because you have to actually get into parry trades with the bosses. Even if you do wipe a build like that, it doesn't really affect you because you just started it. What would I do to fix these problems? Well, the first thing I would probably do is add some monster type enemies. This would obviously help with the enemy variety, and it could also help with the difficulty if they make them harder. Like imagine you're progging a build and every once in a while you hear a noise across the dungeon. When you keep searching dungeons, you see that some of the doors are already open and there's like claw marks on the walls. Then out of nowhere, like a big asshole starts like fucking running towards you. Like, bro, tell me that does not sound tough as hell. The devs should also make a system to add bosses incrementally while you're leveling up. My idea is that every 5 levels you're able to encounter a new boss that you were not able to see before, and these bosses should be way harder than the other ones. In addition to the hardness, they should also be a little rarer than the other ones, so it would be an event whenever you encounter one. This would put the player at edge whenever they're about to enter a boss fight, because they wouldn't know if they would get one of these bosses or not. These bosses should also drop better loot / give better potentials than the other ones, so there will be more of a reward to how hard they are. This system would also add some type of progression to the game, which I feel like is lacking right now. But before adding these new bosses, devs need to fix all the cheating you're able to do in these boss fights. Like they need to make a healing item cap, 3 should be good enough, whenever you're in the boss room. Because like I said before, if you just stock up on healing items, you realistically should never die. Also make the bosses always be aggroed on you, so you can't just hide in the boss room. I personally think that adding more bosses and enemy variety and making these new enemies harder to fight would make the game feel a lot better to play. If you have any more ideas on how to improve the game,
leave your answers in the comments below. I'll pick my favorites in the next episode of Yai.